Now we're going to move on to a new topic, which is actually related because it uses the same phenomenon of noise cancellation, or involves the same phenomenon of noise cancellation. It's called beats. So we're going to see what they are and what causes them. And then we'll see what we can conclude about sound frequencies that produce them. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. You need to have a computer with speakers if you can do this. It doesn't work so well with earbuds. Now, it will kind of work with earbuds, but not nearly as well. So speakers work better. Okay, now there's a link in the Google Classroom for the tone generator. And I want you to click on that link twice so you open it in two different windows. Okay, so it's the same app in two different windows. And then hit play. And when you hit play, what these do is they make a, you know what, I'm just going to show this to you. Let's find it here. Let's go to this. You can find this by doing a search for online tone generator. And that'll work, generate pure tones of frequency. This is what it looks like. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to hear this because it blocks out background noise, but when you play this, it will play a pure tone at 440 hertz. And as you move this, you can move the frequency around, okay? Now, it starts at 440, and then you can hit this button and raise or lower it by 1 hertz at a time. Stop that. All right, so what I want you to do is to open 2 of these at the same time and play them both. And then once you have them both playing, then change the frequency of one of the tones and see what happens. It's just some kind of weird things go on. So run the frequencies up and down, play with a little bit and see if you can spot some patterns. All right, so pause the video again, this video, and do that for a little while and then come back to this. Okay, welcome back. I realize that was kind of annoying, so play with it so you can I think you'll agree that's kind of an annoying phenomenon, but also interesting. Okay, now what happens? What the wah 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 sound that you were hearing, if it worked, is called beats, and it happens because of interference between individual sound waves. So you had 2 speakers in your stereo, and one was playing one tone and the other was playing another tone, and they interfere with each other. Okay, so this is an illustration of how it works. I have these 2 rulers that are, you know what, I'm just going to do this. Here we go. I have 2 rulers that are superimposed on top of each other. Okay, and I've made one of the rulers slightly longer than the other ones. So you can see the numbers don't match up. And the farther it goes, the farther apart the numbers are getting because one ruler is a little bit stretched. Now, at the start, the difference doesn't show up. So the lines here are nice and sharp because they overlap with each other. But when we get over to this region here, now they've spread out enough so that they're alternating. And you have a line from one and then a line from the other, a line from one and a line from the other, and so on down. And then when you get over to here, now they're aligned again. And then, so what happens is the 2 lines are in phase and out of phase, and in phase and out of phase, and in phase and out of phase, and so on as the rulers continue on. Now, if these were sound waves, then we'd have 2 sound waves that are in phase, which make a louder sound. And then a moment later, they go out of phase because the frequencies aren't perfectly matched up. So for a little while, you get a time when you have a crest lined up with a trough and then a trough lined up with a crest. They're out of phase. So here, it gets quiet because there's destructive interference. And then they come back into phase again, and you have constructive interference, and it's loud, and then destructive and constructive and destructive. So it goes wah, 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 right? Very annoying. Sorry to imitate beats. It was bad enough as it was. Okay, now, one thing you might have noticed is that the beat frequency, in other words, how often it goes wah, 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 depends on the difference between the frequencies. So if you have 2 that are at 440 hertz, there's no beats. They're in sync, and you can either hear it or you can't because they're either in phase or they're out of phase. But if you want to put one at 440 and one at 441, and you could try this if you want to, then the wah, wah, wah happens once per second because it takes 1 second for the 2 tones to go in phase and come out of phase again. If you then set one to 442 hertz, then it goes twice per second, wah, 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 and so on. If you go at 450, 440, and 450, 10 hertz difference, then it's going to be a very high frequency. It sounds like a vibrato. 10 pulses per second, 10 beats per second. All right, last thing here. All that the beats tell you is the difference. So for example, if I played two tones, all right, and one of them was 440 hertz, and then I played a second tone, and you got 2 beats per second, all you know is that the second tone is 2 hertz off. It could be 442 or it could be 438. All you know is the difference. There's no way to tell if the second one is a higher tone or a lower tone unless you have extraordinarily good pitch. And some people can detect that. Some people can detect that. Some of you probably will be able to. Playing the difference between 440 and 438, you'll probably be able to barely be able to tell the difference. So again, try that. Set one at 440 and then move the other one below 440 and above 440, and you'll find you get the same number of beats based on the difference in the beat frequency. Okay, so what did we figure out from this? We saw what beats are. They're caused by differences in frequency between tones that are very close together. And we can conclude about the sound frequencies that produce them is the number of beats per second depends on the difference in frequencies in hertz. By the way, if there's time on this, I don't know if this is going to fit on the video. Piano tuners use beats to make sure that the pianos that they're tuning are in perfect tune. So what they'll generally have is a tuning fork that makes a C, a middle C, and then they will tune the string in the piano to get as close to a C as possible. And then they strike their tuning fork and they hold it to their ear and they listen for the beats between their tuning fork and the string on the piano. And then they very precisely adjust the tension in that string so that there are no beats between their tuning fork and the string. And then they know they're exactly in tune. And people with perfect pitch can tell the difference. So when they play a piano that's slightly out of tune, it just sounds wrong. So piano tuners get them exactly on, and beats is how they do it. Okay, thanks for your time, and we will see you next time.